take a big breath and settle in, and Brenda will begin the prelude for us, number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
The land where Westwood Unitarian Congregation is located and where most of us participating this morning are situated is Treaty 6 territory, land which is a traditional meeting ground and home for many indigenous peoples, including Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and Nakota Sioux. Land recognition is a tradition that is dated back for centuries for many indigenous peoples. Land recognition calls us to acknowledge our responsibility and to deepen our understanding of the history of this land and its peoples, to participate in and support the ongoing process of truth, reconciliation, and healing. I invite you to visit the Westwood Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation page on our website for learning resources and actions each of us can take to further this process. We also welcome suggestions for additions or changes to this page. Tawau, bienvenue, welcome to Westwood Online. My name is Brenda Jackson. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm your service leader this morning. In the Westwood and larger Unitarian Universalist community, I have found friendship, acceptance, outlets for my creativity, opportunities to feel useful and to grow both spiritually and intellectually. And as chair of the Westwood Worship Committee, this morning I would really like to express my gratitude to Reverend Ann, who's our speaker this morning, and who has forged along with great generosity and love, spreading the love through these difficult times. And also to our musicians. You just heard Sheila Kaloran. Westwood has a long and proud tradition of having live musicians each Sunday who play music for us. And many of them come back at least once a month, and we love to see them. And I'm so grateful that they have agreed to participate in these online services. And finally, to my worship team. They've been here through many, many meetings and workshops, and some have joined the team to help out with their technical skills, and it is so truly appreciated. Next week, Reverend Ann will be back as the speaker for our second All Edmonton UU service in cooperation with the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. We invite you to join us for Easter Spirit Open Mind. If you are new to Westwood or joining us this morning from afar, a special welcome. We hope you have time to stay after the service to visit and meet some people. We'll be breaking out into small groups. Westwood is a compassionate Unitarian Universalist community. We invite you to question and explore your spiritual beliefs. We won't tell you what to believe. We welcome people of all genders, whomever you love, whatever your wealth or your education. In this community, reverence for the earth and belief in the dignity of every person inform our ethics. Music is an expression of our joy. Worship brings us together to celebrate what is important in our lives, and acts of justice are a symbol of our hope. This month, our theme is the fifth source of Unitarian Universalism, humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against the idolatries of the mind and spirit.
Thank you so much, Brenda. One of my new practices is when we have a technical issue, and wasn't it lovely that our technical issue with sound this morning meant we got more Sheila? Got to hear part of it twice. My new practice is when technical issues occur to close my eyes, take a big breath, and hold gratitude, knowing that the person who's dealing with it is in the spotlight and we hold them in love and care in this moment. Our chalice lighting this morning is from the book Embers by Richard Wagamese. We approach our lives on different trajectories, each of us spinning in our own separate shining orbits. What gives this life its resonance is when those trajectories cross and we become engaged with one another for as long or as fleetingly as we do. There's a shared energy then, and it can feel as though the whole universe is in the process of coming together. I live for those times. No one is truly ever just passing through. Every encounter has within it the power of enchantment if we're willing to look for it. So we light our chalice this morning in the spirit of connection. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, I invite you to light it too. Holding these rituals in our individual places helps us to bridge the distance between us. Thank you. Now it is time for our candles of joy and concern, a beloved tradition in Unitarian Universalism and in our Westwood community. We we're going to have a piece of music play. And while the piece of music plays, you're welcome to type into the chat your candles of joy and concern. And you're welcome to just read them or type into them or just sit in peace and gratitude and enjoy the music. But let me tell you before we do that about a new initiative here at Westwood. We know how much you like to share with one another. And because the chat function is imperfect, we can't always see what other people are putting in there, or we might feel like this is too public and too vulnerable a setting to type our tender messages. So every week, we are going to collect your virtual candles by email if you'd like. So candles@westwoodunitarian.ca. You can send a candle to candles@westwoodunitarian.ca. So everything that we have by Wednesday night will be collated together on Thursday, along with what was in the chat the Sunday before, and emailed out to members and friends. So it's not going to the wide world, it's just going to folks in the directory that are members and friends of the congregation. So if you'd like to participate in that, we welcome you. If you're not in the directory and you would like to find yourself in there, info@westwoodunitarian.ca is the email address that magically connects you to all those things, all the magic. So please enjoy the music and type into the chat your candles of joys and concerns if that suits your heart. Please join me in the affirmation you see on your screen. May the light of these candles inspire us to use our power to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to serve the spirit of truth in loving affection and trusting hope. For our stewardship moment each week, we've made the decision to highlight the giving and receiving that is at the heart of this congregation. So we will lift up one thing that is a nourishing and nurturing part of our life together. This week, we highlight the courageous spirit that is ever present, but it's especially noticeable in difficult times when we're trying to navigate new waters. This week, well, we know that Westwoodians are always willing to try new things and learn new things. And this weekend, we are host to the Canadian Unitarian Council Lay Chaplaincy Designing and Leading Rites of Passage program. It has never been done online before. We've wanted to for years, but it felt like such a big undertaking to cross that hurdle. And so we haven't got there yet. Well, we're doing it now. So we had plans to host a physical training in our pretty little building in Edmonton, and instead we turned on a dime and are doing it online. The CUC, the trainers, and the participants were all willing to take a chance and help to be beta testers in this new way as we develop a valuable new resource for our country and our congregations. So this is a gift that Westwood has given to itself, to all the people who are participating, and especially to the national UU community. We can be very proud of this courageous spirit. If you would like to make a contribution in support of this community, there is information on the next slide. There it is. Or you can go to our website, westwoodunitarian.ca, and there's a link right at the top of the front page, a link to the Sunday service and a link to contributions. And that takes you to a page that gives you a list of all the ways that you can either pledge or donate, even while we are separated by physical space. Please know that if you are new here, or if you are experiencing financial insecurity in this complicated time, we hope that you will consider this service and this congregation as our gift to you. Now, settle in and enjoy our lovely choir director, Rebecca Patterson, whose courageous spirit created the beautiful musical harmony we will play for you now.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From together I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this I live.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. So at this time, to begin the talk portion of our service, we turn the chat off. And I'm sorry if you haven't had an opportunity to get in there. We turn the chat off, and there we go. This month, like Brenda told you, Westwood's theme features our fifth UU source, humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the idolatries of the mind and spirit. When we think about humanism, we don't automatically think about ritual. Historically, ritual has been something we think of in a spiritual context or a religious context, even a magical or a mystical context. Sometimes, because of bad experiences, we think of ritual as coercive or manipulative. But we know that we all come from many traditions and many inspirations. And ritual is not just for a certain segment of our population. Ritual is accessible to everyone. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Originally, our topic was going to be ritual for humanists, focusing on this theme item. But in this time, because we know that we come from all these traditions and inspirations, we didn't want to focus so narrowly, but we will definitely still speak to that topic. So we've changed our title this morning to Ritual for this Time. Let me just speak to the difference between ritual and routine or habit. Things that we do regularly, we brush our teeth every day, are a routine. We might have a coffee every morning. That's a routine or a habit. What makes it a ritual is if we attach some meaning to it, if we have an intention tied to it. So if every morning when I brush my teeth, I look in the mirror and I say, today I will do my best to learn and grow and stay as calm as I can in this time, that would be a ritual. So things that seem like a routine or a habit can shift into ritual if we add meaning and intent to them. You may have an implied meaning that's already in those things. You may think to yourself when you brush your teeth, I'm taking care of myself. This is how I take care of myself. That's the ritual piece. In times of uncertainty, like we're in right now, there's all kinds of research that shows that ritual rises. There is more ritual activity among people. So part of that is because even when we do everything we can scientifically and mathematically and solid, following the information and instruction of the wise beings in the world, we're heeding the guidance of reason and science, we still have uncertainty. In this pandemic time, we do everything we can to be safe, and we also are not in control of the situation. And ritual is what people turn to when there is a limit to the control they have. So you can control your movements and your actions and your choices, but you can't necessarily at this moment in time control your outcomes. Maybe we can never control our outcomes. What ritual does is it supports us and helps us to reinforce the things that we want to reinforce to help us in this time. So think for a minute about an agricultural example. Think about farmers. Farmers will use the best knowledge and wisdom that they have at the time. They will buy the best seed they can or save the best seed they can. They'll plant it using what they think is the best and most productive methods. They'll use the practices they believe in, whether they're an organic farmer who has chosen that because they think that's the best, or whether they've followed a science that tells them this is the best fertilizer or herbicide. The things that they want to do, they do the best they can mechanically and scientifically with all the knowledge that they have. But they're not in control because there's still the sun and the rain. There's still the hail. There's still a fire like we saw ravage through California or through Australia this year. We're not in control. And so if you think through history and currently, there are all kinds of rituals that people participate in around the farming season. Fertility rituals where they say a prayer for the growing plants in the ground, for the health of the animals in their flocks. They might do some yoga and dedicate their effort to all the farmers out there facing the uncertainty together. They might track their gratitudes in a journal at the end of the day every day in the hope to keep themselves focused and centered in a place that helps them to remain productive and as calm as possible in the uncertainty. And that's an everyday occurrence, farming, where we're not in control of the outcomes. And now we have this even more uncertain occurrence in our lives where we don't know, that it even seems like the science changes from day to day. What we're learning and hearing is different from day to day. The advice we're getting is different from day to day. So the question I want to ask you to hold in your hearts this morning is, what is it that you need in this time? What do you need to strengthen or reinforce or celebrate to help you get through this time? One of the ways to answer that question is to check in your mind or your body or your heart and ask, what are you struggling with? Because the answer might be the opposite thing. Or to check in and say, when in these last few weeks of being in this new reality, when have you felt the most connected and calm? How did you get there? How can you reproduce that in your life? Ritual reinforces the things we want to strengthen and support and nurture. Think about children's prayers as they go off to bed. And we encourage children to list all the people they love. And a prayer from mom and dad and sister and brother and siblings and nibblings and grandparents and loved ones, for all the people doing the hard work, for all the teachers that are helping them on the computer, for all the people who grow the food and the grocery store workers that help us get it. That's a ritual. And sometimes we think maybe that's just magical thinking, to think that you can say a prayer and hold all those people in protection and love. But think about what that does to your core being when you say that prayer. It reminds you of who is valuable and important. And we know in Unitarian Universalism, that's everyone. It reminds you that you want people to be safe. It encourages you to do what you can to maintain that safety. Ritual takes it takes place in time and space. We set a time when we're marking something. It could be a time when we're committed to creativity. It could be a time when we lift up some new hopes that we have. I know many of us are thinking, what does this mean, this new reality? What does this mean for the environment? How can we transform what is a horrible and traumatic situation into one that also has a benefit for the planet? And the more we commit ourselves to that, the more solid it becomes in us, the more committed we become to that, and the more likely it is that we can stick to that once we pretend that life is back to normal. What does this mean for reconciliation? A ritual can be as simple as writing gratitudes in a journal. That's something I started doing just over a year ago. A few days past a year ago, I bought a 5-year journal. And it's a little tiny book, and it has space for 5 entries. So now I'm in the 2nd year, and I'm seeing, what was I doing this day last year? And in there, I write what I'm grateful for and what's going on in the world. And this time next year, I'm going to remember that this was our reality and what we were going through and what we were learning. And writing those gratitudes in there every day has changed the way I feel when I go to bed at night. It makes it easier to sleep, just like a child's prayer. It makes it easier to sleep when the last thing you do is think about all the people that you love. When we think about ritual, we often think about what we say in the lay chaplaincy training are the big 3, the traditional 3, the weddings, memorials or funerals, and child dedications or baptisms for some people. And those we think about as singular things. You'll mostly get married once. We die once, as far as we know, as far as I can vouch for today. We have a dedication ceremony or a naming ceremony once, typically. But that doesn't mean we don't return to those ideas and those practices. We celebrate anniversaries. We remember that this is the day. Sometimes we remember this was the day of a memorial and we visit a graveside. That's an important ritual in people's lives, to visit a graveside where their loved ones are. It's not that you can have an actual factual conversation with the person who has died, but there is meaning that matters in you. It reminds you that you love them, that this relationship is important. We lift up what we got from that relationship, the lessons that come to us, the lessons that don't end, and how we're going to carry those out in the world. In ritual, it's important to think about real things, using real things. It helps to light a candle. That's how you open, like we do in this service. There's lots of collective rituals we have here that are comforting to people because it's familiar in this unfamiliar time. So we light the chalice to begin and we extinguish it at the end. So lighting a candle can open your ritual space and close it again for you. In a wedding, the officiant often holds the rings in their hand and blesses them. And it's not that we believe that there's a magic that comes from somewhere outside that changes things when you put on the magic ring. It's that we believe that focusing our love and attention on something real helps us to strengthen and reinforce it. So the people in the room offer their blessing to the rings, and then the loved ones put the rings on, and then every time they look at their ring, there is a reminder of that day, of that intention, and of that message. Ritual can be a commitment to what you believe. It can support you. Coming here together supports us in community. Just the ritual act of coming together on Sunday morning. It can be inspiring to us. When I gather with you on Sundays and through the week and I learn about what people are doing and how they're managing in this time, it inspires me with new ideas. Helps me to cope. There's one really big thing I want to say about ritual in this time and why it's so important to me today. I believe that the biggest risk for the common person is that we're going to get pandemic fatigue or pandemic frustration, and we're going to start taking risks. It's hard to do the right thing when the right thing feels like nothing. We've been asked if we don't have to work out in the world, and thank you, prayers up and blessings to all the people who are working in the world for us. But if you don't have to work in the world, we've been asked to stay home and to stay safe. And we start out with the best of intentions in the world, but as the weeks wear on, it's going to get harder and harder to not give in or give up. And a ritual that reminds you of what you're doing and why you're doing it can help you with that. I would like to invite you today after the service, or whenever it works in your new normal, to sit down and write what you believe is the right thing for you to do in this time. It might say things like, to wash my hands, to stay home, to limit my grocery trips to as few as humanly possible in the safest ways possible, to reach out to people who are isolated and check in on them, to remember that it's frustrating and hard for my loved ones as well, and if we're sharing the house, to remember that everybody is in a confined space together. You might have ways you want to contribute and help. Put those on the list. You might have practices that nurture and reassure you. You can attend 12-step meetings online, support group meetings online, coffee chat at Westwood Wednesday mornings, 10 to 11:30 on Zoom. See some faces. You might knit or crochet or sew or paint or craft. Those might be things that bring you comfort and reassurance and help you calm. Put them on the list. I am not telling you to learn something new. If you want to do that, that's great. That is not my expectation of you. My expectation of you at this time is that you will stay alive. You will do everything you can to the best of your ability to stay alive. And as we do that, we're helping everyone else to stay alive. I love you so much. The odds are that when we return together, we might not all be there. And that adds to the fatigue and to the frustration. And sometimes we just say, forget it. I'm going to see my mom. I want to help you not go. And I know that's hard. I want you to help me not go. We know it's hard. So I'd like you to write out your commitment to what you believe is the right thing to do in this time, how to be safe and well and to support and nurture yourself. And then I want you to put it somewhere that you're going to see it every day. Tape it to your bathroom mirror where you brush your teeth. Put it beside the kettle where you make your coffee. Tape it around your phone every night before you go to bed. So before you can look at your phone, you have to read that piece of paper. Craft a ritual that reinforces what you need to do to stay safe and to stay strong. And I know it's a moving target. I know that the science changes and you might need to change a line about how you believe, wearing masks or not wearing masks. You used to think grocery shopping was okay once a week. Maybe now you're only going to do curbside pickup. Change it as you need to change it. Ritual does not freeze in time. You might need more 12-step meetings. You might need less knitting. The things that nourished you before might not nourish you now. Things you haven't tried might be the thing you need. I just want you to take care of yourselves. Craft yourself a simple ritual that reminds you why you are doing this. That's what everybody in the world needs from you right now. Our routines and our practices have been disrupted. Maybe some of our rituals have been disrupted. Our task at home is to do what we can to come as close to peace, as close to calm, and as close to connection as we can manage. Look to ritual as an intentional practice of engaging with the sources that you draw on for sustenance and strength. Nobody else can tell you what that is. Not me. Can help you figure it out. But your answer is yours. I love you so much. I just want you to be safe. And we're not in control, so we're going to do the best we can to support ourselves and to support one another through this uncertainty, using whatever rituals we can. And amen and hallelujah for Zoom. Blessed be and amen. That is one of my favorite songs in our Gray hymnal. And boy, doesn't it take on new meaning today. I want to invite you, if you're interested, to I have just decided that we're going to have a Good Friday service on Friday evening. So if any of you would like to come, the link will be on the Westwood website. It'll be in the calendar. It'll be a Zoom gathering. I suspect it will be small and tender. But Good Friday is when we traditionally think about loss and darkness and uncertainty and suffering. It's not going to be an it's all okay service. It's going to be an opportunity to hold our uncertainty and our suffering together. So that will be on the website if you want to look there for Friday evening at 7 o'clock. We know that it is not our buildings that bind us together. It's not just our physical spaces, it is our love. It is the connections we forge and maintain to one another as we find our places within the interdependent web. Virtual space may not meet every need that we have, but we are here together, home, each to the other. May you carry this sense of connection with you in the coming days as we continue to navigate our new realities and our new rituals and strengthen new ways to be face to face and heart to heart and love to love. Thank you for coming to our service this morning. This is the end of the ritual space. And now we are going to have our coffee time.